start streaming, and there it is coming up on YouTube, and I will go ahead and send that out on the Twitter box as well.
So we developed just enough people to follow us live like a television show, Cynthia, that they all start yelling at us by about 2 or 3 minutes after the hour. Like, where's the damn link?
Yeah, where's the link? Where's the show? People are waiting to watch.
Where am I going to find you? What's happening?
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. Is live.
I think I'm going to like you.
We're going to have fun.
So what we do, we have a mantra, Cynthia. There's 3 things we want to happen during the show, and that's really all we care about. Is we hope somebody learns something. We guarantee you're going to laugh, and we hope to make you think a little bit about something. Kind of like the Jimmy V3.
Yeah,
That's kind of where we're at.
I'm down with all of those.
Awesome. Okay, well, it's tweeted out now. People should be showing up here shortly on the live stream. I see it going.
Yelling at me immediately.
Let me go ahead.
Does this mean that I should not make a fool of myself from here on forward?
I've done it multiple times.
I should stop being silly.
Oh, no, not
you don't
stop
necessarily have to stop being silly.
No, not at all.
Our crowd knows what they're getting into, especially if they're showing up to follow live on on its TV. They're just going to be super happy that to hear a new voice, especially one as profound as yours is. So
absolutely.
Well, it's not profound, but it is definitely loud at times and bitchy most of the time. But just to give you guys a primer, okay. I was at Duke today doing a guest lecture stint at the MFA program for the film students, and I showed some opening scenes from Race Day for them, and I showed an opening scene from Talladega, and it was really fun. It was nice to introduce these filmmakers from all across the globe. I mean, I'm talking about from all parts of the world, not everywhere to NASCAR, introducing these folks to NASCAR. And they were all wanting to see more.
That's awesome.
So that was really fun.
Yeah, love getting new fans.
We'll probably pull that right back in once we start the recording and talk about it at some point. I think so. Cynthia, kind of what we do is we don't really like to interview. We like to have conversations. So we're not going to ask you a whole bunch of questions. We're gonna just be like, okay, so what was the coolest thing that happened while you were doing, what I mean? Stuff like that. That's kind of where we're at.
Well, I hope you're already recording, because if you're not, you've missed a lot.
Well, the YouTube folks are getting all of this, and this will live forever on our YouTube channel. So with that, we should probably say, okay, so our intro is we play a country song from a friend of ours. You may or may not hear it. I don't know.
Actually, here, I can play it right now. Tell me if you hear this in the background. Can you hear some guitar right now? You got a dog going. Can you hear me at all? Oh, I think she lost all. Okay.
Y'all still there?
Yep. Could you hear any of that playing?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So what's going to happen then is it's going to go radio silent for about 30-45 seconds while we do our intros. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to figure out yet how to pipe that through to you. So I will
just sing it to me.
Yeah, right.
We should get Sydney Lett to do that. She has a much better voice.
Yeah, right.
But it's "We Are NASCAR" is the name of the song, and we can share it with you after the show if you'd like.
No, I would like that now. I'd like for you to sing it now.
So you have to play some of it.
Yeah, I would have to. How does it start? Talladega to Daytona, Bristol, Charlotte, and Sonoma. We are NASCAR. There you go.
What's the second?
Yeah, that's good.
11 inches.
Yeah,
motors running.
It's fast.
It's a hard hitting country rock song.
Yeah. And we're gonna get made fun of on the channel here for singing that. So what'll happen? It'll go radio silent for about 45 seconds. Then the next thing you'll hear is me pretty much introing you. and then I'll just sort of bring you on. We'll talk about what we're all.
Okay, well, hang on.
Okay.
How are you going to intro me? I'm just curious.
I have right here tonight's guest is a director and producer creating shows like A Chef's Life and documentaries Private Violence, A Guest Worker, and Tobacco Money Feeds My Family. Most recently, she has a NASCAR project called Road to Race Day. You can find her on Twitter at DocuSouth. Welcome to the show, Cynthia Hill.
Okay, make sure you mention that I won an Emmy.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Peabody Award.
Emmy Award-winning producer.
All right. Was both
all
of
that
those
stuff,
for
all that
Chef's
stuff.
Life?
No, you don't have to. I'm just like fucking with y'all.
Oh no, it's
It's all
cool.
good.
Don't include that.
Don't put that.
With the F word.
Oh well, okay. So, director and producer, Emmy Award, and Peabody.
No, I'm just joking.
Oh.
I'm messing with y'all.
I would have.
Okay.
I'll say whatever you want. You know, I'm like,
No. I'm like hoping you're recording it, so it's like fun.
absolutely.
So I can tease y'all a little bit.
Yeah, you can lie to me. That's fine.
No, I did win all that stuff. I'm just like messing with y'all.
Okay. So after that, we'll talk about what we're all drinking. We'll walk through kind of what you're doing and the NASCAR project and stuff, how you got into that, blah, blah, blah. We talk about a different car number every episode. So this is episode 121. We'll talk about car number 21 and car number 121. And then we'll talk about last week's race.
Which cars are those?
Those are pretty, 21 is...
Well, they're Wood Brothers, both of them.
Yeah. We'll talk about last week's race at Phoenix, some guest questions, and then coming up to Homestead for the championship race.
I know, man.
And then we'll close it out after that. So,
okay.
Our notes are typically short, and our talking is typically long. So
we joke we're the Norm Macdonald of NASCAR fan podcast, in that our show sheet is.
I am with you because I hate research, so my notes are really short.
Perfect.
Okay.
Always.
Sounds like we're
right
well
in.
aligned.
I am like your person. I am your person.
Yes. That sounds great. So with that, let me see here. I need to turn that down a little bit and turn. Sherwin, go ahead and talk.
Yeah, check.
All right. Yeah, you look good there. And I already got Cynthia's in there. So I think we're ready to roll. Sherwin, you ready to go?
All right, we're going to go silent here for about 40 seconds, Cynthia.
Okay.
We'll be right back with you, and you'll hear us come in. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, recording.
That's all. Sheila has rated on
Welcome,
my
y'all! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 121. It's Thursday, November 16th, 2017. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm joined in the PTM Podcast studio with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
I'm giggling my
I wish I
butt
had
off.
more than one
Our
thought.
guest is talking. She doesn't
Maybe
need to be
my
recorded, but
my
it's part of it, y'all. It's part of it.
That's how we roll. You know how it is. As always, y'all, the PTM Podcast, it's sponsored by you. That's right. Go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get that free koozie. Best part is, every cent in 2017, we're donating to sponsored drivers. Join that PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show is brought to you by our official sponsors. What a poop show. At the $5 and up per month level. That's Catherine Kingston, Ashley Stang, Harry Bolzano,
Okay, good.
Mark Wiley, Craig Smulders, Mick Rose, Robert Keppinger,
It's a
Tony
sex
Saul,
store in the
Kobe McFam,
background.
Eric Kepner, Ryan Kiefer, Marion
That's
LeBest,
a
Patrick
kid's
Perry,
sex store or
Aaron
that.
Beard, Jeff Brown, Chad Sterling, and Stephen Linden. Let's do this.
Oh, those last two guys, they're swag pack.
Oh, yeah. You got to get that over to him.
I know.
So, with that, we want to join, or we want to announce our guest this week. Dude, I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, we've
She's-
all been-
the pre-show has been
She's made
hilarious.
us laugh for the last 20 minutes or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. So tonight's guest, she is a director and producer, creating shows like A Chef's Life, documentaries Private Violence, A Guest Worker, and Tobacco Money Feeds My Family. Most recently, she has a NASCAR project called Road to Race Day. How about that, y'all? You find her on Twitter at DocuSouth, and we want to welcome to the show Cynthia Hill. Cynthia, what's happening?
Hey, I like that intro. I wish you could could be my intro at everything I come to.
Maybe we'll bottle that one up, or I'll just follow you around and you go to shake hands with somebody, and I'll go, you know who this is? Well,
y'all?
she is director and producer creating shows like A Chef's Life and documentaries.
I'm going to have to become active on Instagram now.
Right, yeah. Well, thank you for coming on the show. We start this thing off the same way, and our fans, the PTM posse, as we call them, demands it of us to ask you what you're drinking on tonight.
Oh, Lord. I'm sitting here drinking some Jefferson's whiskey.
All right.
The Ocean brand. Yeah, it's like...
Sounds like somebody else's, too.
It's like this whiskey that swashed around in some boat for a long time and all of a sudden tastes like the sea salt.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that
it's
one.
It's still whiskey.
It's still whiskey.
Sweet.
I think I'm legit.
You got it. You're on it.
Sounds pretty legit to me.
Shorin, what are we drinking? Holy mackerel, I see something a little different here today.
Well, per normal, we started off with your Jim Beam.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Just the pre-show drink, or whatever, the first 15 minutes. So, Cynthia, what you don't know is that I've been going on a sort of a journey to make sure that every time that we do a podcast, the following weekend's race location, the state location, we've got something to drink from there. So I got a double header this time. I've got a rum called Siesta Key. Premium small batch spiced rum. It's probably going to be a little bit better than Captain Morgan, produced in Florida. And we also have the Highlight IPA from Cigar City. So...
Where's Cigar City at, Sherwin?
Tampa, I'm pretty sure.
That's awesome. So, very cool. Yep, going to Homestead this weekend. We'll get into that, and we got all kinds of stuff to talk about with it. But very cool to have those things in here. But before we go off on many more tangents, Sherwin, Cynthia, appreciate you being on. This is so cool to have. I love it when we have a unique guest. I mean, I could sit here and say everybody's a snowflake, everybody's unique and all that. But when you have somebody in sort of a different fold in a different industry. I mean, we sit here with our mouths agape and just listen to what people have to say. So before I keep talking, why don't you start talking? Tell us about, what you're doing and maybe with the history of the NASCAR project, the Road to Race Day, and what that's all about.
Oh, Lord, where do I start? Ask a more specific question. I mean, that's too damn general.
No, we told you we don't do interviews.
So actually, all right, I'll ask you more specific. Tell us about small town North Carolina where you grew up.
Okay, well, I grew up in a small town called Pink Hill, which is in eastern North Carolina. It's agrarian. We grew up farming tobacco and not much going on beyond that. And so we watched NASCAR races on Sunday, and I watched Richard Petty going around the track every Sunday morning when I'm having fried chicken at my grandma's house. So that's how I know NASCAR, is sitting there with my granddad and watching NASCAR races.
That's a small town Southern Sunday, isn't it?
I'll tell you what.
It is. It is. And, that's pretty much the foundation of my interest in NASCAR, is being intimately but not so intimately involved, because I didn't really stay a NASCAR fan. It was not like I was necessarily interested in stock car racing, but it was something that was a foundation of my upbringing and something that I felt like was an integral part of me, but I didn't really know the sport so well, and I watched it evolve from afar. And I know I went off to LA and New York and was really interested, sort of, kind of, but not really. I wasn't really following it. But it was always on my list of subject matters that I would love to try to explore in a more in-depth way. Mm-hmm. And so when I had the opportunity to go into Hendrick Motorsports, it was really like a dream come true, and being able to go and explore that world.
So you're saying it started with Hendrick. How did that phone call go? Was it a hey, I'm Cynthia Hill. You might know me from things like blah 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 blah. But
well, no. It's trying to get into this. We'll do any kind of project like this that's in depth is way more complicated and sometimes less complicated than you imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had this very strange opening to present our concept to Hendrick Motorsports. And, I typically wouldn't start at the top of the sport because I would not think that I could get access to the top. But we had the opening there, and so I was like, well, okay, we'll say, let's ask them if we can come film. And they knew about the projects that our team had worked on, which was A Chef's Life and Private Violence, which was an HBO film. And they really liked the way that we tackled the subject matter, which was more about, it was not, I think really it was not, it was trying to really tackle the subject holistically. And it was not like just trying to singularly focus on like the driver or something like that. And so I feel like that was why they entertained the idea of us coming in. And so they opened the door for us to present the idea. And then once it happened, we were in there filming within a couple of months. And then we were like full speed ahead. So it happened so quickly. And I think it was because of the work that we had previously done, and they trusted why we were there. We were not there to do something that was a gotcha expose or reality television wife of whoever kind of thing, kind of show. The thing that interests me and the team of filmmakers that makes up our filmmaking team is we're interested in the stories of the team, the individuals that tell the story. And so it makes it a more complex story. And so Hendrick, I felt like, was really into the idea of telling a story beyond just the driver. And so that's why it made it a match for us to tell this story.
So what's the format? It sounds like it's not like a driver spotlight. It's not, like you said, obviously an expose on anything. And it's not a secret life of. What can folks expect to see when they sit down and start watching?
It is a world that I have never seen before. It's really what happens. And that is something that you don't see. You don't see it on Fox or NBC when they show the races. You don't see what happens behind the scene. And that's what we show. It's what happens behind the scene.
Sure, and I got goosebumps right here.
Yeah, well, I watched a few. I watched the trailer. Obviously, I've watched a couple of the segments. And
have you not seen anything but the trailer?
No, so knows the wrong word. That's the word I responded with. Yes, I have watched more than the trailer. I really actually wanted to speak with you before I watched the whole thing because I wanted to go into it with sort of your mental creativity on why you did what you did, so that when things happen, I can kind of sort of expand my mind on, okay, why did you do this? Why was this angle the right thing? Because I'm not a film person.
You don't need to talk to me before you watch it. You don't need to do that.
Cool.
Well,
it's clear. It's really clear when you watch it.
Oh, well, cool.
I'm glad that it's easy. I hope that everybody that's listening.
I hope it is.
Yeah. I hope that everybody that's listening and watching, or who's going to listen and watch, will take that advice and not be concerned with this show as much as they would be watching what your product is, because it's exciting to me. I can't wait to do so myself. I did watch.
Okay, let's talk about it for a second.
Sure.
You see sports coverage.
Yep.
And I'm a woman. I'm not necessarily the sports connoisseur. I'm somebody who's not typically watching sports. So when I go into this environment, I'm not consuming this environment the same way that I have seen sports coverage. So I'm going to consume it in a different way, and I'm going to regurgitate it back to you in a way that you haven't seen it. And it's going to be interesting because it's still sports. It's still the environment that you love and something that you really enjoy. But it's not what you've seen before because it's through a different lens. Mm-hmm. And so it is going to be a different way of viewing this sport. And that's what I tried to do, is like present this sport in a way that you haven't seen it before. And we did that.
That's excellent.
Well, one of the coolest things I can remember just off the top of my head is when one of your camera guys, or maybe it was even you, because I know you carry camera a lot, was underneath one of the cars, and the under the car guy looked at the camera and said, "Yeah, you probably shouldn't film this." I was like, exactly. I understand, what he's thinking there, because under the car technology has always been a thing in NASCAR, at least the last 10 years, because when cars would flip upside down, people would take pictures and go analyze it and go, what are they doing underneath there?
Yeah.
And study it.
And we're coming at this, we're a documentary film crew, so we don't have the typical parameters that the NASCAR film crew's coming at this content with. So we're not looking at it as like understanding that this is off limits or that's off limits. So we don't even know the parameters of it. We don't even know that you're not supposed to shoot that. And I've been schooled going into this process that there's a lot of secrets and you can't show this, you can't show that. And I'm working directly with Hendrick Motorsports, so I know that there's going to be a lot of that. But they gave us the opportunity to film stuff with the understanding that they could control trade secrets, and they could say that this is going to be harmful to us on the back end. But they're not trying to control story. They're just trying to protect their brand in that way. So it created this opportunity, too, for us to be there in the moment and capture these things that had never been captured before, because they're not trying to protect their brand in the moment. Mm-hmm. And so when typically, because they're trying to protect all this stuff, NASCAR is trying to protect or whatever, so they're very safe in that manner, and they would not necessarily allow that kind of intimate exposure, that because we were there and they knew that they could on the back end say that was dangerous, that they didn't try to protect us or didn't try to control us there. We captured these amazing moments that when we're in the editing process, they didn't say you can't show that because it didn't affect their trade secret. So it really was one of those things that was very it was amazing to see those moments, but it didn't expose them to any risk. It just basically humanized them. And so it was I don't know. I think I've had too much whiskey, so I'm not sure if I'm being clear.
No such thing.
Yeah.
Well, so I think it's cool. Everything that you said is really neat, because Rusty and I both work in technology-based industries where IP is sometimes it's visible, sometimes it's not, and you kind of have to have that discussion with the customer. In this case, you weren't necessarily a customer, but you were a viewer of their technology taking place, and so they had to kind of probably rein some of that in. And it's very interesting to us to have to hear those conversations take place in very different arenas, and that hey, we love that you're here. We want to let you have as much access as possible. This is an intellectual property space we probably aren't going to allow you to play in. Mm-hmm. And then
and that was especially on the Speedway, the Talladega episode where we're talking to the guy that's responsible for the car and the trade secrets. They're like, initially wholesale, you can't show any of that. And I'm like, wait a minute. this is about character development, and I need to be able to show why this secrecy is so important. And so we try to dissect the secrets from the idea of it being secretive. And so that was really interesting, and it was interesting for them too. And so that was something that the concept of it being secretive became a really big part of that episode. And that played into why we couldn't have access at some times. And that was great. And it was okay. I mean, I didn't have to have access to everything. And even if we did show some things and not certain things, that was fine. But it was the concept of it being secretive that became a plot point in the episode, which was even more important than the actual secret itself.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool.
That's really neato.
Yeah, the small circle bigger than the larger circle.
Yeah. So what was there any or what was some of the biggest surprises for you going into this, or as you were filming this thing? Anything you went, whoa, I totally didn't expect that.
That happened all the time. Every single week I was like surprised. So I think for me, the sophistication of it all, I mean, I knew that it was sophisticated, but I still have no clue about any of it that I filmed. So, I mean, I filmed all this stuff, and we edited all this content, and we presented all this content, and I have no clue about the technology behind all this content that we presented. So it is still this mystery world to me, even though I spent a whole year with this team. So it is one of those sports where people think that it's the driver and they're turning left all the time, and that it is not very sophisticated. And in fact, it is a team sport. And that, to me, I think really, if I step back and I think what was the most surprising thing is that NASCAR is a team sport. That's the most surprising thing.
That's a cool takeaway right there. And you hear that a lot, Sherwin, from people who have this inside access. I'll call it the dichotomy of the sport, where I think on the fan side of the track, there's a lot of the stereotypes that you hear about. I'm not going to go through them all, and sometimes with enough substance abuse, I'm one of them. But on the other side of the track, the amount of like you were saying, Cynthia, the amount of technology that's going in this, the amount of team stuff that's going in this, the amount of strategy and computers and everything else. That's absolutely something that, I mean, I feel like I know about it, but I feel like, Sherwin, me and you walked into Hendrick, and we were surprised, by it was like the precision, the Willy Wonka's chocolate factory of a race team here, where there's not a drop of oil on the ground. Every nut and bolt is labeled and in its own spot and everything. That was something even surprising to me, thinking about what these guys are doing.
Yeah, well, for sure. So the way I'll equate this, like to NASCAR to the general public versus like the NFL to the general public, the head coach is always required to do a press conference, and the quarterback is almost always required to do either radio or a press conference or both. Mm-hmm. And so that's the crew chief and that's the driver.
Right.
But we as football watchers know there's like a whole bunch of other dudes that really play a significant role. Like we talk about the wide receiver, we talk about the running back, we talk about the center, all that thing. Well, I don't go through the whole list. We don't, in NASCAR, we tend not to talk about as much the car chief, which might be the offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator, depending on how you look at it. And we don't talk about the over-the-wall guys as much. We specifically don't list them by name and talk about what their role was.
Like the offensive linemen or whatever. Yeah, they are pivotal to all of this. And 1 second deviation in how they perform that pit stop could win or lose that race. And that's something that I did not know going into this.
So we have a question from one of the PETM posse, Andrew Cancian. I doubt. I have self-doubt
totally
now.
Wrecked your brain.
Wrecked is the right word.
Andrew
Cancian. Can. I'll get it next time. Andrew, thanks for sending it in. He asks to you, Cynthia, what's something people who don't follow NASCAR can take out of Road to Race Day?
Oh Lord, there's so much, and it is that. I mean, it's a really good question, but the thing that I think is really amazing about the series is that you don't have to be a NASCAR fan to watch the series. And you could enter into this series and have no clue about the sport whatsoever and be able to watch it and understand the sport and have an affinity for it in the sense of like I don't know. It's like you can understand that the win, the lose, the dynamics, the team dynamics, and there's a lot there. So the takeaway, I don't know. What did you guys think? What do you think's the takeaway?
It's a good question. So people who don't follow NASCAR, what they can take. I think what's cool about it is that you came in, like you said, as not a reporter or not a like you said, like NBC coming in,
like a fresh mind.
And the parameter. Exactly, it's a fresh mind that comes into it, and the. I keep wanting to say the word outsider, but obviously, you grew up watching NASCAR and everything, but it feels like an outsider perspective. And so,
well, I mean, that I bristle a little bit with that because it's, outsider perspective seems like it's not intuitive in the sense that you understand the sport, which I would say that I am not. I don't necessarily understand the sport, but I do know people. Mm-hmm. And that's what I wanted to do, is to show the sport from a personal perspective. And what does the sport mean to the people that are living in the sport every day? Mm-hmm. And so that's the story I wanted to tell. So if I can bring an audience into the sport through the characters and through their experience, then I've done my job. And so it's almost irrelevant whether or not you understand the sport. It's whether or not you connect to the characters. And then through understanding the characters and their experience, that you understand the sport. That's what's important to me.
I like the way you put that, because especially since that the characters you're speaking of this is not a nonfiction. It's not fiction. It's nonfiction. So the characters are real human beings. They are team players. They are part of the team. They're building parts. They're making pit stops. They're making decisions. They're driving the car. Like that, in terms of character, that's a really cool way to describe doing a nonfiction piece. And
it's not, like you said at the very beginning, it's not a reality show style either. So it's not like, well, Bill was pissing me off today, so blah 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 blah, and then they go in, and then
it's not Real Housewives.
Anything, you're in the moment. So how do you tell a story about the moment? And this is the thing that I saw from watching races, that you see the race and you see the cars going around the track, but you have no clue as to what really is happening behind the scenes. And so that's what I wanted to do, is capture what's happening behind the scenes. How do we get to that track? How do we get to that race? And then when we're in that race, what's happening? And how are you reacting to what happens on the track? And so you have all these players that are involved that are beyond the driver that's beyond the newscasters, the spotter, the crew chief, and how are they responding to this? And so whenever all the cameras are turning to whatever the action is on the track, my team is responding to what's happening in the opposite direction to pick up on what they're responding to, what everyone else is seeing on TV. And so that, to me, is what's the most interesting. And that is what NASCAR fans have never seen.
Well, you know what, Sherwin? I tend to avoid the millennial buzzwords and sometimes reject them, but I think the word binge watch is in my very near future in all this.
Without a doubt.
Holy crap, it sounds so neat. To be able to see this and get that access. And Cynthia, like you said, I think this isn't something that you're going to see anywhere else, and that nobody's tried yet. So very cool. I'm really excited.
Well, it sounds like to me. So here's what I just had a nebulous thought, Cynthia. So indulge me for just a second. But
I like nebulous thoughts.
So this year, because all went well at the time it was recorded, and now evidently whoever produced it felt like this was the right way to introduce it to the public. But that last spring, or I guess maybe this summer, the Ray Evernham production of the 1998 97 Daytona 500 that he had filmed and hoped that they would win, and they did, and all those things that they did in that documentary. Have you had a chance to see that and sort of compare it to what you did and why they're somewhat similar in the same vein, and then why they're different?
I have not, and I'm ashamed to say that I have not seen it.
Oh, don't be ashamed, but now you have homework, because I think I
do, and I will go do that.
I think you'll like it, because it's not exactly at all what you have done, but it is somewhat similar in that giving you access to places that fans really never had access to. Hearing crew chiefs and car chiefs and drivers talk about things that television would never have access to.
Mm-hmm. And this is really interesting because we went through this process of integrating ourselves and our film team with NASCAR production film crews. And initially, they kind of shunned us, because they've never seen us before, and they don't know who we are, and we're kind of like the slum. And slowly but surely, we gain respect from the folks that are there every single weekend. And I get that. We can't elbow our way into their world because they are there every weekend. They've paid their dues. But they also see that we have access, and we can go into the garage and be in there when Chase wrecks or when Dale Earnhardt Jr. wrecks, and that they don't stop us when they stop everybody else, and we keep going. And so the NASCAR production crews or the NBC or the Fox News crews, they see that, okay, these folks, who are these people that, when we stop, they don't stop. They keep going. So they started to, understand that we're doing something a little bit different than they're doing. And they started yielding to us in a way after we had been doing this for midway through the year that was really interesting. And they're like, we understand that you guys are doing something that we're not doing. And that was really special. And it took a long time to get to that place. And as a filmmaker and understanding what these people who do this every single weekend, who do this better than we can ever do, which is document these races and present this content to fans on a week-by-week basis and respecting what they do and not step on their toes. It was a really interesting place to be where we collaborated. And then we started collaborating even more intimately of we nodded to NASCAR Productions and to the networks, and it was really, I don't know, it was a really interesting place to be. And you guys have probably been there in that kind of place where it's like you're presenting this meta kind of place where, you're commenting on a sport that you're in, but you're commenting on it, but you're in it. And like, when do you realize that you're in the sport? So what is that like when you recognize that you're in that space and you become part of that space?
That's a great question, because we have, for a long time, have said, we're fans of the sport, and that's how this whole podcast even started. We've talked about it before on the show, where we said, hey, we're just fans of the sport that like talking about NASCAR with each other. Why don't we record ourselves and put it on the internet just for fun and poops and giggles
for shiggles?
Yeah, for shiggles here. And next thing you know, exactly what you're saying, where you're talking to drivers and you're talking to people who've made documentaries about the sport, and you're talking to media people, and eventually, you do get that sense of am I part of this now? Am I part of the thing? What's going on?
Yeah,
and what's my responsibility here?
And then responsibility is the other side.
We're sitting there at Bristol, and the DP is behind Peyton Manning, and he brings back the football to throw the football. And when he brings back the football, he hits the camera guy that is part of our team and fumbles the football.
Oh,
and
no.
He never fumbles. So we're responsible for a fumble.
Excellent.
In the process of this whole big process of showing this crossover between football and NASCAR. And we're sitting there on national TV, and we fumble Peyton Manning. That's
excellent.
Messed up. And so we have to own that.
Yeah, I love it.
What's hilarious about that is he had the shortest drop back arm motion of any quarterback in history. So I'm guessing he just kind of the shoulder is pretty weak. I'm just going to go back and throw one of those old Tim Tebow jobs.
I was about to say Tim Tebow.
Camera guy is
From the
he
waist.
was right here. He had that shoulder release where it just whop.
So we warned you in the pre-show that we'd get into the NASCAR stuff, and we're going to go deep into last week.
Waiting for you guys to go deep.
And the what's coming up and everything. So let's jump right in, Sherwin. Let's talk about car numbers first. Car number 21, and as a bonus, y'all, car number 121, which is cool. This is episode.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff Brown, for reminding us.
Yeah. So, Sherwin, you got the hat on right now. What does car number 21 mean to you?
It means Wood Brothers. Wood Brothers.
And to talk about the number of people who've won in the 21 car, it's like me doing the Patreon read at the very beginning. With
number of awesome sauce people.
Now, here's the cool part. We have talked about every person and done like a little mini expose on every person who has had multiple wins in the 21, which is really cool. David Pearson with 43 wins in the 21, over 150. Matter of fact, y'all entertain me for a minute, because I really got a brainer, as I've called it before, on these stats.
It's like the nerd version of a concussion.
Well, concussion, if you want to call it that. 157 races, 43 wins, 97 top fives, and 103 top tens. 103 top tens in 157 races, with 43 of those being wins.
I don't know what the math on
Holy
that is,
moly.
but it sounds pretty good.
It's, crazy. 67% or whatever. Neil Bonnet, 9 wins. Cale Yarborough, 13 wins. I wrote Neil Bonnet again for no reason. Marvin Panch.
That
80,
guy again.
Yeah. 80 races, 8 wins. 1 out of 10, AJ Foyt, 9 races, 4 wins. Speedy Thompson, 5 races, 2 wins. Single wins by a litany of people, and I'm going to list them because it's fun.
Trevor Bayne, I think, is in that category.
All these people. Yeah, Elliott Sadler, Morgan Shepherd, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Petty, and Ryan Blaney's going to have more and more and more, obviously.
Yeah.
Kyle Petty, Trevor Bayne, I should say Daytona 500 champion Trevor Bayne, because I like saying that. Dale Jarrett, Glenn Wood, Buddy Baker. Glenn Wood, by the way, Wood is a name you might recognize. Buddy Baker, Curtis Turner, Donnie Allison, Tiny Lund.
Donnie.
You remember doing the show on Tiny?
Tiny's
Harold Kite.
driven every single car.
Tim Flock has driven every single car.
Yes, he has.
Insanity. But I want to talk about car number 121 with Dan Gurney. Dan Gurney raced.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
Have to.
What's that, Cynthia?
Do we have to?
We have to.
Oh, yeah. No, we have to hit this last one.
We got
I
it.
remember doing my nails and drinking more.
I understand. I see you drinking all that. You're about to run out of booze over there.
I know. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I filed all my nails during that whole damn thing.
Dan,
I drank my whole bottle of whiskey.
You'll appreciate Dan Gurney, though. He raced absolutely everything, and I put everything in capital letters here, in the 50s and 60s. He won in F1, Indy, NASCAR, Can-Am, Trans Am, everything. He raced 5 races in the 121 car and won 4 of them.
So he's like an EGOT, right?
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Emmy, Grammy,
Right.
Oscar, Tony.
Yeah.
He's like the racing version of that.
Right. 16 total races in NASCAR, 5 wins. He retired as a team owner and went ahead and won 78 races and 8 championships. Inducted.
Why the hell not?
Yeah. Just go ahead as a footnote. Inducted in the International Motorsports Hall of Fame. He's 86 years old. We're gonna cheers, and cheers to you as well, Cynthia. Dan Gurney.
Yeah, raise your glass if you got any left.
Yeah, 86
Dan
years old.
Gurney.
Doing the thing.
I need a reason to drink some more whiskey. All
I love it.
right, so Gurney.
That brings us to our segment that we call Tearing It Down. And, well, actually, I messed up and didn't play our sound effect quite right, so I'm just going to do it again. That brings us to our section that we call Tearing It Down. So, Tearing It Down, we went to Phoenix, and Phoenix last race before the
Stuff happened.
final race, we had some stuff. I think
All I want to know was Chase second.
Chase.
Yes, he was.
He finished second.
He finished second. He is
Oh man!
For the 7th time.
Yeah, perennial bridesmaid in the 2017.
I believe that's his 20th
He
top
is
5.
We need. Oh Lord!
So, Cynthia, are you a Chase fan? I guess being.
I am a huge Chase fan.
All right.
All right, well, you're in the right crowd. You're
for-
good company for sure.
Especially the Atlanta, Georgia fellas here. And here's my only problem. So he got his payback against Denny. I think
that was just to say that was pretty messed up.
You mean Martinsville?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not good.
Here's my disappointment was that Denny. Well, I guess both of them didn't win, did they?
Well, Denny finished. Denny decided to wreck half the field after he was going to finish 7th or 8th.
Right. And then
cost Blaney maybe a chance at Homestead. Maybe, however you look at it.
And I guess what I was slightly disappointed. I'm glad Chase because we had Rick Mass.
The only thing that I'm thinking is that it paves the way for me to go back and document Chase winning.
Awesome.
So I've been watching him finish second for a really long time. So I'm ready to go back in and film him winning.
I'm looking forward to that.
Can we get an invitation to be behind the scenes and just look at that thing?
You will be behind the scenes because I'll be behind the scenes.
Right on.
Well, yeah. So can I just stand next to you while the action's happening and watch you create filmography?
Probably not, but I'll lie and say yes.
Okay,
Awesome.
sweet.
Yes.
Boom.
Lie to me all day. I love it. So I don't know where I was going with all that, but I mean that's one of the storylines here. Chase Elliott, like you said, 7 top 2s.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do you have to finish second? I mean, he should have finished first in half of those races. So he is so poised to start winning, and Alan, who is his crew chief, is amazing, and watching that team dynamic, and they're so ready to win, and I so desperately want to be there when they win.
It'll be incredible. But here's the thing. I mean, it's just
Atlanta in February.
There's going to be there's.
And we're gonna go bananas.
I mean, we all know it. There's going to be this crest of a hill, and then suddenly, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
the winds
it's gonna
are
be
just,
like hitting Vaseline.
yeah.
Then he's gonna win everything, I'm sure.
It'll be like the stuff that Clark Griswold sprayed on the bottom of that damn salt.
Yeah, gone. The next big story, Kenseth win, and what that means, and it felt like it's a feel good story that people are calling it. I'm still bitter about Kenseth Logano and 2 years ago, but
I'm glad you said that because
Okay,
here's
good.
what I want to say about that. I turned coat immediately on that in terms of trying to reconcile him being maybe finished. Like, I'm still thunder pissed about what happened at Martinsville,
right.
as a situational deal. But as far as Matt Kenseth being emotional winning at Phoenix, boy, that hit me right in the heart.
Well, you got to appreciate it. Yeah.
He's such a good person, and he's such a good racer. And you're like, the guy's got it. Why can't he? What is this? Where are we at? So I don't think it's a downfall of the sport or any kind of. I'm not doomsdaying anything. It just, holy cow, I can't believe he showed that emotion. This is the guy that's so quiet. He only speaks up when he's really, really crisping somebody. Just, And so, all right, I'll shut up now.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Cynthia, thoughts on the end of that race?
What is the definition of thunder pissed?
It's like pissed, but like extra.
Yeah, there's
with some thunder. The lightning happened, and now the thunder is coming with the piss.
I feel like I like that.
Well, that's a prefix for a lot of different words.
I'm gonna use that. I am thunder pissed.
I love it. I'm going to soundbite that right there. Cynthia Hill.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have a button for that in the future. Just hit the button.
I love that.
Oh, I love it.
Put that in the soundboard, Rusty.
Yeah, I am thunder pissed.
I am thunder pissed.
And so the third big storyline now, Harvick, Kyle, Truex, Brad going to Homestead. That's
who's going to win? Who do you guys predict?
Well, so are we going to dive into picks now, or are we going to talk about? Well, we'll just dive into picks.
Well,
yeah,
sure,
do it.
Sure, let's dive into the picks. We'll go to Homestead. Who wins the race? Who wins the championship? Who wins everything?
Guess first.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I have no dog in this fight anymore.
You don't have to have a dog in the fight.
My drivers are gone, so
you can just throw darts at one. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
So talk to us. Who you got? The Cynthia Hill.
It can be someone you want.
No. I mean, I don't even. I everybody that I love is gone. So you guys tell me who's going to win.
But you can pick them to win the race.
I'm gone. I'm like sitting on the couch, drunk.
Okay, so you
tell me what's going to happen.
Okay, all right.
Sherwin, do you think a chaser wins this race? How about that? A chaser, a playoff person.
Yeah, a Final Four.
A Final Four playoff person wins this race.
Do I think a Final Four racer wins this race?
Yes.
I think not. But you guys keep going.
So I like that. That's where we were trying. We were trying to pull something out.
What I really think is that Chase Elliott's going to win the race.
Well,
but he has no dog in the fight anymore. But I think he's going to fucking win it.
I love it.
Awesome.
I love the enthusiasm.
So, Sherwin, before you say it, actually, let's talk about Mick's question because this is very relevant. Mick Rose at GoDucks 42_Mick. If Chase Elliott gets his first win or Dale Jr. wins his final race, will those be bigger stories than who won the championship?
Dale Jr. is having a baby.
I love it.
I think you just wrecked the show.
You killed us. You got me.
God bless you, Amy Earnhardt.
Yes.
He's having a baby.
I think
he's winning the race. He's having a baby.
So the answer to Mick's question is yes on both accounts. Only if Martin Truex doesn't win.
For me,
Martin Truex is like a son of a bitch. He wins everything.
Oh man! Well, I mean,
there's so many sentimental stories behind Martin Truex.
His history, his girlfriend, obviously,
Sherry
all that
Pollock,
stuff.
all the
the ups and downs he's had in the sport. Blah blah blah. You can go on. I would say in the short term, absolutely, Chase Elliott getting his first win or Dale Jr. winning his final race. Those will be the story. Almost more so than who wins a championship. Now in the annals of
especially if it's Kyle Busch.
Right. In the annals of the sport, 2017 championship goes to this person. That will be what history remembers. What we remember in this generation is what if one of those two happen, that's what we'll remember. So I'm doing the cop out kind of both.
No, and I was trying not to interrupt you, but I did anyway. I said Kyle Busch there, but I would also say Brad Kay even more so. If he wins number 2, despite the fact that it would be under 2 different styles of crowning a champion, and in 2 different manufacturers, and in 2 different kind of cars, I think if Dale Jr. or Chase won, I think that would lead the headlines in a lot of newspapers. It wouldn't lead it at USA Today because they got to print the champion,
right?
But in North Carolina and North Georgia,
I don't know about that.
So.
I don't know. I don't know if the nation cares who won the championship. I don't think they care. That's the thing that I'm not sure that NASCAR really understands is I don't think that the rest of the folks really care about that. And I'm not even sure that NASCAR fans really care about that either.
I think
I am a very outsider speaking to insiders saying that. So I don't think that people really care.
No, I like where you're going.
Well, we're
with
not
this.
insiders, we're fans. So that's a different thing.
But I would say I like where you're going with that. And for me, the 4 if you're watching ESPN, because you want to see the lowdown on this week's football games, so you can track your fantasy for next week. And they have a segment on the NASCAR championship. I don't think any of the 4 guys who are in there are going to be relevant necessarily in the national context.
Is somebody who knows about the sport intimately now is that the playoffs for NASCAR, no one who is not a diehard NASCAR fan understands that there's a playoff for the sport. So I know that there is this need to manufacture this playoff scenario to build interest and this interest in the last part of the season. But I don't think that it's necessarily working. I don't have an answer to that. But I don't think what they're doing is working.
I think it's a good point in that it's either a marketing effort or it's doing the wrong thing effort. So, and that's why I love to hear those type of opinions too.
I'm not trying to be like I have no solutions. I have no clue. I don't even have solutions to my own life. So
I hear that.
I'm coming to this like I know how to fix anything. I can't even fix my own kid's lice problem. Like we just went and tried to solve us all having lice, and I can't do that. So, but it is this thing where you try to build intrigue to the final whatever to the sport, and I am like green in the sport, and it is I think that it's like there's a problem, and it's bigger than trying to build intrigue and present a playoff. That is not the solution. I don't know what the solution is, but that's not it.
Well, Sherwin,
I like the take. I mean, I like the take because we've probably visited that same conversation in the last 10 years a bunch while we were watching races.
I
think since we started podcasting, we just kind of had to adopt the whole idea of, well, this is what we got to work with, so we'll just work with this.
Yeah. Sherwin, so knock it down for us. Who's going to win the race? Who's going to win the championship? Make it happen.
All right. Well, so...
And don't steal my picks.
Yeah, I understand. I'm not going to claim this as an original idea because an extremely intelligent crew chief sort of jogged my brain on creating this thought. But I'm going to say that Brad Keselowski is going to win because they're going to pull some crazy-ass weird pit stop maneuver that's going to have a caution or a couple of cautions associated with it, and the other guys that are just running fast all night are not going to be able to catch up with.
Yeah.
So he's going to be left out front with a shorter run than is required for somebody else's tires to come in.
I gotcha. Okay, so you've got him for winning the race, winning the championship, the whole deal.
Yeah, I got the Miller Lite.
You know what I really like about Brad is what you've already talked about, which is everything is different from the last championship, and he still wins it. Holy cow. And he gets that credit that he deserves and not the, oh, well, he had that one championship, but, that's it almost feels like an asterisk or something to some folks.
Right, well, they feel like he Paul Wolfed his way into that championship, too.
Yeah,
So I'd like him to Paul Wolf his way
why
into
not?
a second.
Why not? We had a segment, it had to be a year ago, talking about which crew chief and you would want. I'm like, Paul Wolf with, because...
Paul Wolf and Roddy Childers. I mean, those two guys.
Yeah. So here's my picks. I've got Larson for the race.
Oh, that's fun.
I like that high line deal. I like it's something I can root for.
See, I think it's
really
funny
enjoy
you went that way because Junior is captain run the cushion.
You're right.
But he doesn't have the car that Larson does.
Right. And so here's the thing: for everything to be right in the world, Martin Truex Jr. must win this championship.
I agree 100% with that.
And so I have to pick that for the sake of the universe not exploding kind of thing. I really we need this to happen. This needs to be Truex's deal.
I want that so much.
It's like he's there. He's there.
He's there. Can he take it home? Can he take it Homestead?
Homestead. Yep. Can he take it home Homestead?
Yeah.
It's so perfect. It has to happen because I think if it were to happen, somebody as awesome at filmography and filmmaking as Cynthia might get an opportunity to do an anthology on Martin Truex Jr. and his path forward.
Maybe. But I'm going to throw some stuff back at y'all.
Okay.
As NASCAR fans.
Okay.
So I want to know, what is it about this sport that you think that people who are not knowledgeable of the sport get wrong? So tell me, what should I know as a documentary filmmaker, and what should I focus on in my next adventures in this sport?
For me, you've already said it though, and that is we said it, and I use the word dichotomy. The thing that people think about when they think about NASCAR. If you think about NASCAR, you're thinking about a guy with his shirt off. He's got a big old belly, and he's got a beer helmet and
driving in circles.
And driving in circles and blah blah blah.
There's those too.
Right. I feel like that's the general conception of what NASCAR is all about, and I as an outsider, I don't relate to some Southern guy with a rebel flag boxers and no shirt and whatever versus the what you talked about, the technology that's going into this, the amount of teamwork that's going into this, the split-second decisions, the strategy that goes into every race, the amount of people working on this, the diversity of types of people who are working on this. From the nowadays with somebody like Hendrick, you've got marketing people, you've got people who don't know anything about racing, but
you have aerospace engineers on your team
across the board. All that stuff. So cool how behind the scenes all that stuff goes on, and I think that for me is what solidifies that. So, Sherwin.
Well, what did I miss?
You didn't miss anything. That was exactly right on.
Yeah, I think we just.
Sherwin, how about you?
So I guess so. The question was, what would a non-NASCAR fan miss that they should probably grab onto if they understood what the sport is doing and why it's doing what it's doing?
Sure.
Or why they should be interested in what they're doing?
I think you've summed it up.
I think it's the physics of it. Really, it's how difficult it is to make a car, a sled, a 3,300-pound sled that looks like a reverse wing, to drive 200 miles an hour across asphalt and require a rubber company to give them some sort of medium in which to operate with, and to never know what the temperature is going to be, because it could be like we joke about Atlanta. It could be 45 degrees. It actually could be 75, and then the rubber compounds, like, it could be good or bad.
Right.
Like, there's those little bitty things. Just like there's so many. There's so much data you have to compress in order to go fast. I think NASCAR is for people who want to hear loud cars going fast, or fast cars going loud, as we say. But there is a very big operating space for nerds that want to gather data about all the different things that make automobiles go fast, especially at really high speeds.
Yeah.
Both based on mechanical grip and aero grip, and some combination of the two.
Yeah, so show up for the party, but stay for the thinking.
But show up with a beer belt too, and a slide rule, right? Beer belt, slide rule.
A beer belt and a slide rule. There you go. I love it. Cynthia, we have one last question that we always get from Ashley J. Stang, who is a longtime follower and co-owner of Stang Racing, and she always sends us an off-the-wall crazy question, something fun. See what you have to say about this one. What's an item that you keep at work or that you bring with you that you can't live without, but you don't have or you don't need at home? I think this one is probably pretty straightforward for someone like you. Have you ever had a poopy day because you forgot it or you couldn't find it?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm having lots of reverb.
Oh, no. She said she's got the reverb. We got you now. So
okay. I would say that oh shit, man.
Yeah.
See, what do I bring with me? I bring me. I bring me because I am my secret weapon, and whether I am intoxicated or not, I don't know. It's like it's one of those things where you are presented with something different every day, and you don't know what you need, and so you have to be on your game. And it is one of those things where people say you have to be present, but you have to be present in documentary filmmaking, and you have to be there. So that is like a lame ass question.
Oh, damn!
Called her out. Ashley, you got called right there. Sherwin, anything at work that you use that I do not need this at home?
Absolutely not. I was not sure how this question was going to play. I knew it wasn't going to be good.
My secret bottle of Jameson, I don't know.
If you're allowed to have
one of those, I like have a airplane bottle of Jameson, and I like take a little nip, because like sometimes you're nervous and you want that reassurance, and you're not. You need that, but it's like you have to bring this level of confidence to this work, and that is internal, and it is not something that you can bring with you except on the inside. It's all internal. It's what you bring with you.
I love it. And the YouTube comments are blowing up. They love it. I'm digging this whole thing. Cynthia, it's time to close it down for us. And Ashley,
close it down. Let's drink more.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Have you something. Yep.
Boom. Cheers. All right. Cheers. Bang it.
Cheers to you. Cynthia, tell folks, one, where they can find you, and two, where they can find the Road to Race Day.
Well, it's Go90, and it's on Go90. That platform is a streaming platform, and you can see all the episodes, and please watch them. I think it is a really unique aspect of the sport and an inside perspective of it, and I want to hear what you guys think. And I am not somebody who sits there at every race, but I'm sitting there on the inside trying to understand what the folks on the inside think about this sport. And I want to see what you guys who see this go around on the TV screen every day think about it. So please tell me.
Awesome. Love
Well,
it.
we're going to promote it like hell, so just...
Please do.
Love it. Love it. Real
And,
excited.
Harass the hell out of me.
Well, we can do that. We're real good at that one.
Do it.
Well, Sherwin, with that,
Harass back, by the way.
let's start closing it down. Y'all know where to find us. Thank you so much, Cynthia, by the way, for joining us on the show. This has been an absolute blast.
Thank you. It's been so much fun.
Oh,
Invite me back anytime. I don't know if you want me, but if you
oh,
want
we
me
do.
to
We
hang
do.
out
Every
and
time.
drink and watch races with you.
You're our
Yes.
you're
I am
our
game,
kind
and
of
I have
people.
No knowledge about anything except nothing.
I think we're going to have to do a live
Commentary
podcast
that
while we
means
watch a
nothing.
race next year.
Oh, that would be fun. That would be fun. So, Sherwin, or first off, Cynthia, thank you again. Sherwin, it's time to close this thing down. Everybody knows where to find us. You know where to go. PTMpodcast.com, at PTM Podcast on Twitter. As always, I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace, at Tailgate Mayor.
And I'm Andrew Sherwin at Pregame Engineer. You can find us in all the other spaces that you don't see right now. The Facebook and the Instagram, PTM Racing Podcast. Just search it on Google. You can find all our stuff there.
You know where it is. On YouTube. Hey, give us a subscribe. Give us a like. Whatever it is. I don't care. But thank you for joining.
Dogs are barking.
Dogs are barking. Things are going. We are NASCAR. Thank you so much for joining. We'll talk to y'all next week.
We are NASCAR.
Drunk. I'm like fucking drunk all the time.
Yes!
Oh,
This
perfect.
is awesome.
Perfect ending.
Are you here?
I love this. I love this.
Oh,
How much fun.
oh
Cynthia,
my goodness.
you're the best.
What a great
Are
personality.
y'all here? Are y'all here? Can you
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, yeah, we got you. We got you.
so pretty.
We're still live on YouTube.
Oh,
We saw you without your glasses on.
All right.
I like drinking.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Cynthia, PTM Posse, thanks again for joining. This has been...
You guys rock. I'm like trying to wrangle my dog.
Oh, he's been awesome.
Stuff
Or she.
and
What's the dog's
whole
name?
thing has been
trying
hilarious.
not to be too drunk because I'm actually pretty drunk.
It's about an hour too late for that
Oh,
one.
we're
but-
getting hammered, dude.
Nah, yeah, we're there.
Trying not to slur.
We're there. Oh, it's a blast. All right, Cynthia, we'll let you...
Call me sometimes.
Okay.
It would be fun to hang out with y'all.
Yeah.
We're in. We'll make it happen. We'll find you up North Carolina for a race.
No, seriously. Let's do a race together.
All right.
Yes.
I'm in.
Yes, opportunity, I don't know. Let's do something fun.
Hell yeah.
Well, we're all about the fun. So,
Okay.
Cynthia,
We will stay in touch for sure.
Call me.
you're the
We
best.
really appreciate it.
We'll talk to you later. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Excellent.
How about that, y'all? Woo! I'm not going to go deep into it. Y'all were awesome on the YouTube. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're still around, I don't know what to say. That was fantastic.
I think that was the first time we've had a guest as fired up as we've ever been.
Fired up is the way to put it. I love it.
Gassed up, baby.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to y'all next week. We'll get this thing over on the.
Yeah. Redneck noise.
I'm just thinking. I'm fixing to do the editing, and the editing I do on this is just chop out the very beginning and chop out the end. But I'm not going to chop out the part where she just yells,
She
"Drunk!"
might have said the F word at some point. We might have
I'm
to
not.
leave
I'm not
in
chopping
there.
that. Yeah, I don't
F
care.
it.
Whatever.
F it, daddy.
All right, y'all. Talk to y'all later. Thank you for
Oh, that's
joining.
a tribute to
y'all the
Alfred
best.
May, by the way.
Yes,
God.
sir. Oh yeah. Y'all be good. See y'all next week.